Syrians. Trinidadians is who should own land. Now is the time to make the land their possession, but their sense of taste could just trace to all them fancy showcase. So the businessman, he blow their mind, and his dollars, them got to find. Trinidad is nice for men like Sabda, Kupalani, Maraj, and Waidi Lima.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
Business expanding, more banks they dealing, so is the capitalists and them who should sing.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
And like the slave masters want to bring back the whip, and the chorus singing like they on a trip.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
But I hear my sister talking about Revolution Day, fire on the way. They don't know their worth, like they haven't a sense of value. They don't know their rights, even that they cannot argue. 750,000 people cannot get up and do something about the struggle, but to plan for the next holiday, to set their lives away, and forgetting that they own the soil of which their foreparents toil. For the people who form the constitution laws, for the oppressors and foreign investors.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
Amoco and Shell business did went swell, on your oil them foreign parasites dwell.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
Yet the song I sing, like if I hearing the chorus singing, God save the King.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
But I hear my brother talking about Revolution Day, fighting on the way. You talk about a place where the people are carefree living. It is such a place of fun-loving, spraying and fetting. Tis the land where people don't care if Ash Wednesday fall on Good Friday. Man, they love to struggle in this happy-go-lucky way. It's Blokorama, Fetorama, and just now is Masorama. So the foreigner come for carnival, and he telling himself after he had a ball.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
Mr. Foreigner, in La Trinity, the people have a carnival mentality.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
They are not serious, very few conscious, so I cannot agree with my own chorus.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
But I hear some people talking about Revolution Day, changes on the way. They're born in a land, the better parts controlled by the alien. They fill the pockets of Portuguese, Chinese and Syrians. Trinidadians is who should own land.
Yes, indeed, of course. A pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, and Trinidad. President Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, President Tobago. Yes, this is the Thursday edition of the Corridor Transformation. Yes, our final day of the week, because tomorrow night, of course, I will be experiencing what I would normally experience on a Friday, that is to say, my sabbatical. But that being as it may, of course, I want to say we have a bumper program for you tonight as usual. So stay tuned. Of course, and I will have my co-host make his introductions as well. But in the meantime, let's hear a little bit about Trinidad and Tobago's typical Trinbagonian.
But I hear my sister talking about Revolution Day, fire on the way. They don't know their worth, like they haven't a sense of value. They don't know their rights, even that they cannot argue. 750,000 people cannot get up and do something about the struggle, but to plan for the next holiday, to set their lives up.
With a signature on a July afternoon in 2026 on 3 agreements that most people outside a small stretch of the Southern Caribbean will never hear about. 2 of those agreements were for artificial intelligence data centers so large that if built to their full design, they would draw down close to 1/3 of the entire electricity supply of a nation. Not a city, not a district, an entire country's power grid, feeding machines instead of homes. This is the story of Trinidad and Tobago, 2 islands. A combined population smaller than a single borough of New York City. And right now, at this exact moment, 15 mega projects are moving simultaneously across those 2 islands. Some finished and already changing how people live, some half-built and years behind schedule, and some still nothing more than a rendering on a government website that no one has broken ground on. Hospitals, highways, airports, a port that has been coming soon since before some of you were watching this channel. An artificial intelligence infrastructure big enough to reshape the country's entire relationship with electricity. We are going to walk through all $55 billion signed away in a single afternoon. That is where this story starts, not with a ribbon cutting, not with a groundbreaking ceremony. With a signature on a July afternoon in 2026 on 3 agreements that most people outside a small stretch of the Southern Caribbean will never hear about. 2 of those agreements were for artificial intelligence data centers so large that if built to their full design, they would draw down close to 1/3 of the entire electricity supply of a nation. Not a city, not a district, an entire country's power grid, feeding machines instead of homes. This is the story of Trinidad and Tobago, 2 islands. A combined population smaller than a single borough of New York City. And right now, at this exact moment, 15 mega projects are moving simultaneously across those 2 islands.
Yes, indeed, of course. A pleasant good night once again to all and sundry. But I thought I should start there because we want to make certain that we understand better days are here. Not just coming, but are here. And last time, of course, we started that process, so we would want to elaborate it tonight. But more importantly, yes, I got a copy of Stuart Young's, what I consider to be pessimistic and wishful thinking outlook for Trinidad and Tobago, and as we predicted, his egotistic and egocentric disposition on his own involvement in the evolution of the gas and oil and of course petrochemical sectors in the country. But before we do that, let me of course make certain that Mr. COP or Dr. COP is in line with us in terms of hearing his voice. You know, if we don't hear his voice, we don't feel comfortable. So let me make sure that that is happening. A pleasant good night to you, my co-host, Dr. COP.
Good night to you, Lennox Smith. Are you hearing me loud and clear?
Loud and clear, my friend,
Loud
loud and
and
clear.
clear.
Go right ahead and make your
No
interjections.
obstacles, obstacles in our way tonight at all. We
Right.
rebuke all obstacles. Good night
Yes,
to all the listeners and viewers of the Corridor Transformation. All of you on the chat, good night to you. Welcome to the Corridor Transformation. We'll have a bumper program tonight.
yes, indeed, yes,
Lennox
indeed.
Smith.
Yes, indeed. I want to make sure that I have you loud and clear. I don't want
I,
to.
I, I
Right.
know you're excited. I know you're excited with all them development.
Yeah.
It's
15,
15 new
15.
development
Yeah, and counting. 15 and counting. Multi-billion
in
dollar.
1 year.
Yeah, in 1 year. In 1 year.
In
That's,
1 year and 8 months. That is
yes.
the development we have in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. You can imagine if them thing was taking place 15 years now, how Trinidad and Tobago would have looked.
We would have been the Singapore of the West. Yes, and the Dubai of the West. All in
Yeah.
one, combine both Singapore and Dubai. And we'd have had, of course, a Trinidad and Tobago that is considered to be moving inexorably to the point where every country in the world would have been, of course, envious of us. Unfortunately, we had a satanic, evil, wicked, diabolical team of individuals who were self-centered and believed that the resources of the country belongs to them. And so
Yeah.
they pursued a
I like that here
selfish
right now.
and self-serving agenda that created a crash of the opportunities, a crash of the opportunities. But if you listen to Stuart Young, you would believe if somebody else did that, and that the present administration would have been in office some 15 years before. I ain't talking 10, 15 years before, to achieve what he only night before, day before, was saying in a press conference. We will go straight to Stuart Young and hear the wishful, hogwash, diatribe, misinformation, disinformation, innuendo, hoodwinking, and of course attempting to not just stymie the government, because we have seen that with respect to the constant bombardment of the organization or the office that is responsible for procurement, the procurement regulator. Stop, of course, the 4 billion housing development program. They are questioning what is happening with respect to who got the contract and how long and what would have been involved in terms of conditionality, both in terms of the recent signing that took place with respect to the gas and of course the steel mill scenario, and clearly with respect as well to a simple exercise, which is of course the laying out of some 30 police army posts throughout Trinidad and Tobago. We will look at all of that, and at the end of the day, we call on you to use your own discretion, and hopefully that you will form the same conclusion that we have, that these are a bunch of Norarians, as my mother would say, obscurantists, and of course people who are so backward that their retrogressive propensity has no place in the advancement of Trinidad and Tobago. So we would look at that as well. All right. I don't know if you have any preliminary discussion as I look
yes,
for
yes.
the film. Yes,
you know, Tunapuna is one of the most heinous place that indulge yourself in crime and things. You're talking about one of the dreadest gang in those areas and them over there, that they say that those gang and them taxing the people and them all them vendors and them that had to pay tax and all them things. Who the PNM protecting? Why would them when want police posts all over the country? Who all are really protecting? If those things is to deter the gang members and them, and it is showing that business people do have to pay coward tax, and these things can deter that. Why them all want to stop that? And why they didn't do nothing about it for the last 10 years they was in office? Is it because they was establishing an organization, a criminal organization? Because that's the only way you wouldn't do anything and say anything about it. You ain't put a mobile police post, you ain't put a police vehicle to pack up over there. You ain't put police and soldiers to walk the road. and administration putting those mobile posts to ensure public safety and security. Them don't want that. Them don't want that. Them making us set a complaint. Well, I want to tell them something. You see the same way they went and break down international security boat? Go and break down this one. Take the Tunapuna Piako Regional Corporation back and go and break it down. That's what they do in international. Go and break it down now. Or you can't do that. So we'll have to hush all your blasted mouth. Or look at the advantage in China. Or look at advantage Homeland Security and National Security. And the head of the Security Council. Or look at advantage them. Go break it down. Or hush all your mouth.
And all because they have recognized that politics and democracy is manifested to the optimum when we realize the principle that the minority will have their say, could only talk like they are, but the majority will have their way as the central government has. And there's nothing, as you rightly said, they can do.
Say that.
Yes.
The majority will have the way.
That's right.
Which is the coalition of interest, and
That's
they
right.
will have the way.
That's right.
But Keith Rowley, tell the population when he was in office, he said there's a lot of crime in this country, and government must take responsibility for the crime. Well, that is what this government doing. Taking responsibility and putting things in place to secure the country by putting them mobile units all over the country. They're taking responsibility, Penny.
And as well as Chochok, and they must also know that not like Rowley said, and don't get me vexed before I pull that clip, but he said that the government has given up on crime. He said that ultimately, we the people have the ultimate decision when they would have done their best and the best wasn't good enough. And we did that. And today, they are trying to stymie. So it means, therefore, they were trying to make us accept mediocrity, incompetence, impotence, and the inability to manage the critical issues in Trinidad and Tobago, because them name PNM and they will prevail. Well, yes, you will prevail in the den of hell, in the den of decadence, in the den of incompetence, and the people have jettisoned you like how you jettison persons off a ship, usually when the ship, those days in the days of the steamship or the sailing ship, just depending on the breeze, when the ship is too heavy and they reach in the doldrum, they then jettison people. Well, the PNM is now in the doldrums. So they have jettisoned the PNM, and so when Stuart Young speaks, it becomes comic relief. And we're going to play some of that tonight to make you understand that no way, Jose, these people could return to government because there's nothing to offer. Nothing whatsoever. But let's go and hear some of the things that he mentioned. You will be amazed, as I have. But of course, I also predicted those things that he would say, because he will claim all of the things that we know he could not have claimed because he delivered nothing. So how you claiming? You delivered nothing.
You want the fame in opposition.
Yeah,
you want the fame now.
And in opposition. You see these people are mad like hell. But let's hear him.
Them cocoa pile
I
and
have
Karahu.
the unenviable task of dealing with some issues that should be of serious concern to us as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago here this morning once again. The first thing and first point I'd like to make is Trinidad and Tobago, the UNC and Kamla Prasad Bissessa are constantly rage baiting, as the young people call it, but also engaging in distraction to try and keep your focus out of the areas and the issues that really require our concern. And this concept that they have bought in to fully is called flood the zone. That is all that they are doing constantly, because they are not performing. The country is literally on autopilot in a crash mode. But what they do, starting from Kamla Prasad Bisesa, come right down, is light fires of distraction all over to try and divert our attention. So that's the first point that I'd like you to be aware of. They are currently, Kamla Prasad Bisesa herself and others, attempting to distract you from many, many issues that require your focus. For example, we are dealing right now with a failing economy, a struggling energy sector, and I'll come to the big announcements in a short while. We're still dealing with the loss of tens of thousands of jobs. And my colleagues before highlighted some of the real issues that are being faced. When you go down on the ground across the country in the most vulnerable of neighborhoods, it is only suffering taking place. They are attempting to divert our attention away from these things, from the failing economy, the shutting down of a record number of businesses, small and medium-term businesses, and the abuse of preventative detention orders under the state of emergency. These are the real issues facing us, despite the neon lights that they like to flash, despite the rage baiting and unfortunate use of race to distract that we've been seeing taking place. Let me just draw a couple matters to your attention, and hopefully you'll take a closer look at them. In the past week, we have had some major announcements, and I'll just draw on two state enterprises. FCB, an indigenous bank that we should be proud of in Trinidad and Tobago. Go and check their results. Their 9-month results that ended at the end of June 2026. They have reported a drop and a decline in their profitability of over 10%. That is a serious red flag. Angostura, once a jewel of the CLF group, Angostura has also just reported at the end of the first half of 2026 a decline in its profitability of 8% and a drop in its revenues. Those two alone, you can say, are the result of the Kamla Prasad Bisesa initiatives in the budget. You would recall that banks and insurance companies were saddled with new taxes and an asset-based tax. FCB now, over 10% decline in profitability. Alcohol, saddled with massive increases on tax. Angostura, revenue down, profit down.
Let's pause here a bit. The first thing that hits you in your face with this analysis of this is supposed to be former 45 days prime minister. Maybe the amount of days itself suggests that he's still a neophyte. I've always seen him as a individual in perpetual neophytic mood, meaning that immature, Johnny come lately, and as the old people would say, smelling e piss, smelling e pee, and playing man. You comes to the public and saying that the country is in a mortal decline, but talking about reduction in profit. So, in other words, people, he is saying that there is a profit, but it is in decline. Why am I using that to suggest the semantics that he has produced in that statement? Because he didn't say that they lost. He didn't say that they didn't have a profit. He talks about decline. But listen, he's going to speak later on about NGC. What I want to tell you, in 2021, I believe it was, the NGC did not make a profit for the first time under the PNM. did not make a profit. So if profits have declined, by itself tells you that they are still in a profit-making scenario, but the amount compared probably to previous years, they did not make so far because the year ain't finished yet. But he hurry and he greedy and he want to be an alarmist and tell you that suggests that somehow Trinidad and Tobago is in mortal decline. I say to reject that kind of analysis. He did not say it didn't make a profit. Not only did the NGC not make a profit in 2021 when the PNM was around, but the organization that was created, the National Investment Fund, where all of the assets of CLICO was put in as part of a national effort to save, to give people control in a real sense by buying shares of the national patrimony, if you want to call it, of major companies. And of course, the way that it got it is questionable, but we won't go there tonight. But the fact is that too made a loss under the PNM. And he has the audacity and the shamelessness to come in our faces and believe we are that stupid and that we cannot understand complex, I should say, financial matters. Yes, we can. And therefore, I want you to note, I don't have the benefits of the figures, but I'm talking based on what he has said, that there is a decline. Well, that means a decline. It doesn't mean that it is not profitable. In other words, the profit has been smaller. So if we were getting 50%, maybe they're now getting, let's say, 40% in profit. In other words, if they were making $100, they now may be getting $80 in profit. And he's seeing that as some kind of disaster. Whilst, of course, under his stewardship and his Minister of Finance and his Prime Minister, and he as Prime Minister, you had NGC, a company too big to lose, end up losing and not making a profit. And of course, the National Investment Fund also not making a profit under the PNM. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. My friend, go ahead. I know you're raring to take your turn.
And the PNM seeing a decline is because of the destruction that they leave behind. That is why them seeing that decline. But when we have all those big oil giants in the bosom at the coalition of interest, showing interest and spending the money to help develop this country, Stuart Young had a song like that. And how it is when he keeping a press conference, Penny don't be behind. Oh, no other ministers don't be behind him. Where Marvin? How he alone does have a press conference?
Well, it looks as though he has adopted or accepted the dregs of the PNM, because he had Marcel with him on that occasion, and we had, I think, Nobriga making a contribution as well. All of whom will cry babies and continue to be put in the neophytic block, meaning that they are still wetting, they are still freshmen, they are still trying to find their way, because they are simply out of their depth, but attempting, of course, to pretend that they are viable political as well as a good rival for the UNC and the coalition of interest. Far from it. You have anything else before, of course, I go to dismiss what he just said?
Yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead. You go ahead and educate us.
It will be dismissed with this people.
Celebrating the latest partnership with BPTT on Block 5B of the Mannequin Coquina Field, which will see the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago hold a 20% participating interest. The partnership is part of this government's commitment to securing Trinidad and Tobago's energy sector.
In February 2015, back to February 2015, when I was your Prime Minister, both governments agreed to develop the field as a single unit, giving 66% to Mannequin and 34% to Coquina. This makes the Mannequin Coquina field the only, as mentioned, unitized cross-border gas field in the Western Hemisphere, where agreement has been reached to develop the entire field.
She also congratulated BP on agreeing to acquire Woodside Energy's 70% interest in the offshore Calypso gas project, increasing its stake in block TTDAA 14 to 100%, assuming operatorship.
What this will do, this will accelerate our work in the energy industry. In energy, Calypso is a major domestic gas source and the first ever deep water development.
According to BPTT CEO David Campbell, the move marks another step in the growing partnership between BPTT and NGC, supporting progress on the unitized Manikin-Kokina cross-border development and enhancing regional energy cooperation.
And we're talking yet about the steel mill, you know. That is just in gas and, of course, the cross-border issues that has been resolved, and its operation is working assiduously and inexorably to generate the gas that is needed and that has been in a shortfall for a long time. And I want to accept the fact that that was during the era of the previous UNC administration, but I want to say as well that the previous PNM administration to the previous Kamala Prasad Bisesa UNC administration, because they did not invest as the Kamala Prasad Bisesa administration invested between 2010 and 2015. Manning did not invest. The most amount of money ever came into Trinidad and Tobago by virtue of these assets and these resources, I talk about foreign money, was in 2008. And don't get me vexed before I play what Rowley said, you know, because those are Rowley's words. The most amount of money we ever got was in 2008 when the PNM was around and Manning was around. And by the time 2013, 2014, they did not invest in upstream, meaning that looking for more oil and gas and so on. And it was the Kamala Prasad Bisesa between 2010 and 2015 administration that started to invest and bring in, of course, these upstreamers. And while Rowley was complaining by the end of 2015 or 2016, when the PNM came into office, complaining that there's a shortage of gas, but the investment made by Kamala Prasad Bisesa and the UNC, then called the partnership, in 2013, 2014, began to bring additional gas. Not enough, but those investments were being realized in terms of profitability by that time. Yes, indeed. Of course, COP, I see your camera is out. I don't know. I'm sure it's not on my side. So put on your camera. It must be for some reason. But let me make sure and make certain that right. Okay. So he's back. All right. So, and in those circumstances, don't tell me that Storchong didn't know that, the history. But just in case, let's hear what the chairman of NGC has said about the last administration. But before that, let's go to the lines. You know, we give way to the lines. I know people love to listen to us and take in the facts first before they make their contribution. So let's hear what they have to say. Professor, good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yes, Dr. Lennox, good night to you and COP, man.
Yes, man, good night to you, my friend.
How are you going tonight?
Well, of course, we're feeling like we're on a roll.
All right. So, I normally don't look at any PNM live or stream.
Yes.
Right? But I was watching that Stefan program. He bought, I think he was showing Simon the burger.
Yes.
Right? Now, this man had to be, I don't know how people vote in these people, but this man had to be a real foolish boy. Because here he's making a case about the police army joint, the mobile unit.
Yes.
Right. At Etihad ground. And he's saying that it's an accident waiting to happen, right?
Yes.
But I saw an aerial view of the location,
Yeah.
and adjoining to the police post is the children play park. So if you're making a case that is a disaster waiting to happen, what about the children play park? How did that end up there? You follow what I'm saying?
And let me make one statement.
Uh-huh.
Who the gods wish to destroy, they first send them mad. And he has gone mad because you're quite right. He said that it is on top of whether active, inactive, the possibility that a disaster could take place, that the platform for that particular post is being constructed. But then he went on to say that a children's park is on top of the same gas line.
Well, yeah, this is my point. So it would only blow up when the police post, the mobile is
Yeah,
there.
that's what.
So
Well,
so it will
that's
leave the.
logical. That's what he's saying.
Hmm?
That
Well,
dunderhead,
yes,
that nincompoop, that
and
asinine specimen of
and people
inhumanity. I hate them with a
and people
passion for
listen
their
to that and clapping,
stupidity. Go ahead.
and people listen to that and clapping.
I'm telling you
How
that.
did us vote for these people? How did us vote for these people, boy? And then in addition to that, you start to talk about CPAP and URP and the crime, how they take it away. But I don't know if you remember 2024, 2023, and 2022. 24 had the highest murder toll, 23 had the second highest, and 22 had the third highest. And we still have CPAP and URP. That didn't stop the murder toll and crime.
That is the comic relief that we have for representative of in our parliament representing people, the people of Diego Martin Central or wherever he is supposed to be representing, must be appalled and ashamed to see that you have that level of square peg and wrong hole logic, asinine representing them. But go ahead.
And then we had Stuart Young. He wants to take some kind of he wants to take some kind of the gas field that we acquiring and the gas. He want to take some kind of glory from that.
Yeah, you want to take credit for
But
it, yes.
but since 2012, as far as I could recollect, the Venezuela was banned by the USA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since 2012 under Obama, when nothing could go on there, and he and Rowley went into Venezuela and were doing their own thing there, dancing the conga line to a country that was banned. You couldn't do business there. So how could you take credit for something that just happened? Government change, which is Trump, and the ban continued, and it was enforced further until they lost the election. Kamala then came in, and the OFAC license was granted. But how can you take credit for that? This man going mad.
If he going mad again, and worse yet, he blatantly avoided the fact that the mannequin Kukuna gas field, Kukuna on the Venezuelan side and mannequin on the Trinidad side. He did not say that arrangement, the unitizing of that field, meaning that they join together and they will exploit it as a joint thing, was signed in February of 2015, before the elections of that year, and that caused the PNM to be in office. In other words, it was signed by the Kamala Prasad Bisesa UNC partnership government. He stays clear of that. And claiming, of course, Kamala to be dishonest. Well, Kamala did mention it. She is not him. You see, they see in others that which is in them. The level of dishonesty and the level of self-aggrandizement and the level of not doing their best for the country in a extraordinary case of mediocrity, mismanagement, and contempt for the people. And then, of course, gaslight us that they beat the chest and say that they did well. No, Kamala said yes. And she did mention the two other developments when the PNM was in government that advanced that particular field. She talked about the first OFAC license. She talked about the fact that they agreed with this profit sharing arrangement with BP and NGC. It manifested. The genesis of it was there. But in 2026, she came back to complete the exercise. They did not, even though they had 9 years so to do. In 1 point something years, that issue was resolved in the favor of Trinidad and Tobago. Later, I will tell you why that was so. But go ahead, my friend.
And I want to commend you. You were so correct about 2008, when Manin made lots of money.
That's right. Most amount. And never invested back into
Yes.
the upstream.
Yeah, lots of money. But what causes the rift and the 1% with Manin? He made the fundamental error of saying he knew who Mr. Big was. Like people just forget. They just forget. And then Rowley and Manning back and forth, because Rowley challenged Manning in 2008, before they make that big sort of money, about the property tax. The people in Diego Martin could pay that. He don't know any of them. Remember that?
Yeah, it's that level of dishonesty and that level of insult to our intelligence. One cannot engage in any kind of sympathy for them. These are unpardonable sins that must be aired and told to the population, especially those who still have some kind of left ear hearing for them, if at all. But go ahead, my friend. I see Mr. COP is off the screen, but go ahead, yes.
Yeah, so I know I took up a lot of your time. I mean, I don't want to stay too long because I can make more contribution, right?
All right, okay.
No
problem, my friend.
But I'll call you on Monday.
Yes,
Monday, God's
Monday, yes, here on the Gong Report.
Yeah. So you take care, my friend.
Yes, my friend.
Okay, take care.
All right. Trying to see what has happened to my co-host. Missy, oh boy, I see that he's awful entirely. I don't know why. Let's hope that he can reboot and get back in. But of course, the show has to go on. So, people, what did the present chairman, Mr. Ramdeen, of NGC say as to what really transpired, contrary to what Stuart Young is claiming in his, of course, attempt to give himself credit. All right, let me go straight to the line at the same time. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Hello.
Pleasant good night. Yes, welcome. Tell me.
This is Mr. Sanford.
Yeah.
Good night to all your callers, all your listeners, everybody listening to them. I was listening to Mr. Stuart Young just now, and you take the words out of my mouth, because from the time I hear Now, listen to this,
Yeah.
that he said they made um, a profit, but that Angostura made a profit, right?
Yeah.
But there was a decline, right? Now, Stuarty believe, Stuarty believe that people stupid, because let me put it this way to you. Remember what I told you this morning?
Yeah.
That this thing is like the spinning top in mud?
Uh-huh.
That's exactly what that is, Because listen, when they took office, right? How
In
could
the meantime,
you
COP, are
no,
you hearing me? COP, are you hearing me? Sorry about that. No, boy. We have a issue here. Let me see what we have to. All right, go
uh,
ahead. Go ahead, Mr. San Fernando. Let me just try to resolve
right?
this.
No, what I'm saying is oh gosh, I don't want to lose concentration. But
Yeah,
what I'm saying is that
yes, yes. Sorry about that. We have
how could
multiple things
you
going on. Yeah.
they plunged the energy sector into a country like Venezuela, where millions of people was fleeing Venezuela. Now, if you notice that millions of people fleeing a country, why would you go down inside there to invest the energy sector to gain money out of that? It would never work out because people were remember the Venezuelan economy was going down, right? So you going to invest and people were fleeing, right? No, that's like, as I say, spinning top in mud. Because let me just explain it. When I hear him just now saying that Angostura was making a profit, but the profit declined, maybe it declined by what? You make a profit, yes, but it declined by what? 5%, 10%, but you still make money, right? It's rubbishy talking, right? Because let me just, hello?
Yes, go ahead. We hear you loud and clear. I'm just trying to get in
You hear me?
Mr. COP back into our sphere. Yes,
I
go
don't
ahead.
want to take too long, but it's a story really I want to tell again. I had a friend who went into business at one time. Now, a businessman was robbing him. And listen to how he was robbing him. If you take, let's say, 1,000, you have $900, but you go to this place and the goods come up to $1,000. Right? If the goods come up to $1,000, but you and the businessman agreed, okay, I'll pay the 9, then how much I owe you? 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, remember as time go by, you probably will want more goods, right?
Yeah.
So you go back to him a second time, right? And you take more goods, but this time you pay $1,100. $1,100, but you pay off. Right? What happens here? It is still owing in the 100.
Of course.
Right. Now, let me say this happens on a repetitive kind of thing going on and on and on. Right? But every time you go, the same pattern revealing itself. But it reveals it, but you went to him 10 times. And one day he sends you a bill saying that you owe $1,000. Right?
Uh-huh.
But you follow how he was getting robbed. No, I'm saying when you do account or when you do keep a check of what is going on, you can't say no. If that pattern reveals itself 10 times, you can't tell me that I owe you $1,000. It's 100 I still owing you. So Stuart Young and they believe that people are foolish.
I tell you, it's a bunch of buffoons we're dealing with. I mean, you come. I thought, what would have been news, for example, if you say, well, look, they made a loss. You know what I mean? As a consequence, but it's obvious if it is that they have to pay more taxes. As a business, you would adjust your production mechanism. You may have to render redundant certain aspects of your labor team. You may have to search for cheaper, let's say raw material, etc. A number of things will go in order for the business, because at the end of the day, you're doing business to make profit, and if it is your profit, because you have to pay the tax no matter what, because this is a government mandate. So you adjust your business model in order to make certain you can pay the tax and still stay alive. So you're eating, and so your profitability may be lowered because you're paying more tax. But he ain't saying that. He just saying that since the profit margins fall, that means that business and Trinidad and Tobago going downhill. What kind of logic is that? Go ahead. Yes.
So I want to find out very logical. So when my friend came to me I was showing me this kind of thing was going on with him, I had to say to him, but you're fool, because the man robbing you is $100 you in the man, not 1,000. The man robbing you. You understand? So
don't come like that.
Yes, don't come like that.
Yeah. Damn buffoons in them. Yeah, man.
Yeah, real buffoons. Anyhow, that's my point for tonight.
Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you very much, my friend. Yes, indeed. But, and again, I keep saying, and I must say it again tonight, I think the level of sagaciousness and the level of intelligence of the callers that bless us or grace us with their presence on a nightly basis, and indeed at times on the ground report, with a few exceptions, I think is fabulous. I don't focus on the bloggers, but I know that COP has that responsibility between us, so he will from time to time respond, acknowledge, etc. But I don't do it because I have to focus on the delivery of a superlative product, which of course is my task in this whole arrangement. But let's go to the chairman of NGC and hear what he has to say. In spite of, and then we will get back to Stuart Young in his convoluted, enigmatic, and of course state of what I consider to be mental and intellectual decline and illusionment, because what he has to say does not equate with reality. The fact is, Trinidad and Tobago is moving forward and upwards. At this time, let's go to the line. A pleasant good night to welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to you, Uncle Lennox.
Yes,
and all the listeners, COP, a pleasant good night to you and your family. Uncle Lennox, a pleasant good night to you and all your families.
Yes, man. Thank you.
Subscribe, like, and always share. It's free. When all subscribe, all will hear Uncle Lennox. And he like a mosquito in them PNM ears. Yeah. So, Uncle Lennox.
Yes.
Then tonight we don't know what to talk about, though. But here what I will talk about. Then since I had nothing to tell you, and as the third host on the show, I had to get something to say.
Yes.
So I will start with, the speed that ExxonMobil get the clearance is faster than what Shell get the clearance to do the seismograph. That seismograph was just to see the seabed, to run the gas line from the Dragon to come to the Hibiscus. Right. And it's how long they take to get. They play the game. And since we're talking about energy, the same way I asked Yorty that Tanti looking for him, right? I want to ask him again that when Territorial drilled the 2 wells in Guaya, right? I think it's the Guana field, right? I want to ask him why it takes so long to put that gas on stream on the NGC line to bring it to market. Why is suffering people, that company, so long? Right? And since we're talking about Stuart Young, right? And we don't how much excusal. And I want to be friend, I don't want to be enemy. Because I have a little money, so I want to open a merchant bank. I lend him money, so I hope I could get excusal and could lend the state money. So I want to be a friend. So I want to ask him, when BP end up with 50% of the equity, that what that chairman behind your back talking about now, that they control 100%, right? I want to know why it is them end up with 50% and Woodside end up with 70%. And I didn't hear how much NGC had. NGC, I didn't hear how much NGC would I get out of it at the deal. I want somebody like Stuarty to call and say how much when Woodside had the 70%. So I just asked him if ConocoPhillips did put a spoke in that deal, and they had to pay ConocoPhillips the $1 billion. So that is why they was dragging their foot on that deal. And they're trying to play a game to suffer that gas, which they know is gas could come to shore right now. But I want to ask Stuarty. Stuarty is a taxpayer, you know, and it worried me. Because my farmer's friend and them boys and them who just plant legit yam, serious pak choy, lettuce, cabbage and thing, and tomatoes. Right? The fertilizer plant, nutrient is sell the fertilizer. Right? Why is the mudball as the lost election? Why? And others tell them that they close it down and going. And all this gas now, since our Prime Minister and esteemed political leader, the Honorable Ms. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, take power, put 2 energy minister, refining gas, because so you could not look at Chinese people like cheeky, they say, no, sorry to say it so you could not see, so they put 2 people with big eye, so they see plenty more gas over. I wonder, but you from Lal Bihari Trace, you supposed to find things. So Stuarty, tell me now, you responsible for the negotiation, and yes, you negotiate for everything. You and Rowley negotiate a good gas deal, a best gas deal, and yet still, the people who support order to keep you in power to defraud the treasury, and you whip them. That reminds me like the slave trade, boy. When people, those days, it was in bondage. They had to work for nothing. Just come out, do the work, process the cocoa, the sugar, the cotton, and put it there. And just get something to eat and some water to drink when rain fall by. So, Stuarty, tell me now. And now, the same Point Lisa's steel plant, when Jindal had come to Trinidad, right? Jindal, if I remember, and Uncle I'm supposed to answer me tonight, that in Venezuela, he was in the iron and steel business down there. I want to know, and I just ask that question, Stuarty. And all this sneak him in, and all of a sudden somebody passed and they see him in the diplomatic center, and they say he come to put a bid in after the bid closed for the refinery. So let me hear the steel mill. You boasted, Paris boasted, that they fight their case for workers. Where the steel workers' pension plan, Stuarty, you can answer that? All it was the government and usually last prime minister of the country, or the outgoing one. Answer that question for the steel workers that way. So that is over $1.2 billion in the people pension that they have. You could tell me which party of the seat or pass it, or they end up borrowing it and pay bills or take excuses on it. I just asking for me, not a friend, because I'm a taxpayer. Just as you say, Stuarty, you is a taxpayer, and you want to know how much it costed, how much money we getting, and how much it would cost the citizen. I want you to tell me now, Stuarty, how much the drag and gas would have contribute directly to the treasury. So there's a question nobody asked it. So Uncle Lennox, you see that fella behind here, not COP, you know, the one with the green tie?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to ask Stuarty how he ended up back with 100% in a productive field. Have a good night.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, people, of course, I know that some of the information that you would have been abreast of or delivered to you by Mr. Faizabad, you may not be fully aware of. But he mentioned two issues. Oh boy, we have to go to the line. We have to go to the line. Boy, very, very, very interesting. And again, of course, the wisdom of the callers, I think, is really, really, really fascinating.
Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you.
And COP. I wonder if you just suit and thing, but I funeral to go tomorrow, but I want to suit to go funeral tomorrow. You looking very sharp and productive this today again, Lennox. Lennox?
Yeah.
You give me stripes. I keep up the good work you do, the man. Lennox, I see the management of WASA. Who's the management of WASA? The government?
Yes, of course. They would have put in a management team, consequential of the fact that they are in government. Yeah, go ahead.
But you know, Felicia Thomas and she comrades and them join with the UNC government. The city was getting what it was to get. You see the bacchanal today?
No.
In Wassa?
Tell me. I know not more than.
Well, she comrades and she team then as the protesting. The city, the chief officer, like he play politics with the workers and them, because when she walk out to the Wassa headquarters, the union headquarters, and say, well, I'm probably paper here, and say everything's all right. So we know they're going to go back to the drawing table or what. So the management.
Well, my understanding, and tell me what you would have understood. Of course, I will do my follow-up afterwards. But the last time there was a dispute with respect to the 60-40 in terms of non-cash. You see, the CPO is saying that non-cash should be 60%, but the union is saying that the reverse is the case. Cash should be 60% and 40% non-cash. So go from there and tell me what you understand would have happened today, because I am not aware.
Well, I know that man do your research and your groundwork and your program tomorrow and you got thing in there. Right, and I see the next union now, Christopher Street and them now coming out now and talking.
Okay.
You know what? You remember when the union signed combination with the government 2015?
Yeah.
You remember what they do? The drag dolly for the last night, the drag dolly and all kind of thing, and bring down the government.
Okay.
And when the PNM was the free last night, they didn't drag no dolly and all that kind of thing in it. So I call in and the government and them, let's give the workers them the George Junior Lennox.
All right.
So COP are something good. I want a jacket and a little tie. I want to go tomorrow. Bless.
All right. Okay. Well, clearly, people, we rely on the callers to give us the latest. Of course, remember it was right here when Stuart Chung would have given his press conference earlier, and I think the day before, one of the callers said that he will be having one, and that gave us the focus to make certain that we get a copy of what he would have said. So I want to thank them for that, and of course, while he may not know all of the details, certainly I want to thank KFC for bringing that to our attention, and in spite of the fact that he may not know what I consider to be the granular details, the fact is that means I have to do my work. So what he has done is really give me work to do. So I want to thank him for that. All right, in spite of the fact that he may not understand the entire, let's say, issues that might have triggered that, what he said is a sort of issue raised by the head of the PSA and some situation that would have developed. Let me put it that way. But a pleasant good night to welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night again to you, Professor and Uncle Lennox.
Yes.
And Professor COP and KFC. Right. I'm talking easy because I want people, my finance minister to hear me.
I hear you.
Right? The Felicia and them went to the the authorities to meet with them for implementation of the negotiation, what was settled.
Right.
The back pay increase, the reflection of the 10% on the pay wage.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And when they will pay the back pay money, then to finish off the settlement, right?
Okay, right.
To settle up everything. So they had a meeting. The workers take a stand that they will stay until they get something concrete.
Okay.
So it's either upper management, right? Because I don't think the CPO might be involved in this one, because if the CPO was involved, it would have been by the CPO office.
That's
right.
And
I think
they'll be
it's
talking about that difference in position, 60-40, 40-60 allocation to whether it be non-cash or cash. All right, so go ahead. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really like what already said for the the reflection of the increase in the salary.
So they're calling for implementation. And when?
Yeah, then that would have waited on to see when because the time had passed.
Okay.
So
thanks very much. Thanks very much for further elaboration on that which KFC introduced. So KFC, you're right on track, partners, and you may be well qualified now to be an external reporter for the corridor transformation. I can't say for the ground report yet because you have been making a case, and of course I have been saying that it's a matter of time because your position has let's say changed from the original rationale for the ground report, or put another way, 91.1 taking the position as far as you are concerned. So just have a little patience, and things are going to resolve. And rest assured, there are people who are talking in your favor. Let me put it that way. In the highest quarters that we can find. But let's go to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to you, Lennox Smith, and your co-host, Mr. COP.
Yes.
Lennox Smith, I ain't calling to stay long.
Okay.
You forget to send the number for me?
Oh, yes.
I need the number.
Call me back after the program now. Call me after the program. I'm certainly going to give it to you. All right?
All right, okay, no problem. Nocturnal listening.
Yes, indeed. Sorry about that. But you know, it's so much things are happening in 1 hour for a whole day. But that being as it may, let's go straight, of course, to what the chairman of NGC had to say with respect to the performance of Stuart Young and the PNM when they were in office. Let's hear this, yes, on the... Oh, no, that's not it. Just a minute. I had it here just now. How come I've lost it? Let me see. Yes, let me see. Yeah, oh boy. Yeah, I got it, but a call is coming in? No? All right, let me just get the chairman's comments on what has happened at NGC.
They crippled our downstream by the policies that were put in place by the former administration. They crippled our downstream by the policies that were put in place by the former administration. They crippled our downstream by the policies that were put in place by the former administration.
Chairman of the National Gas Company, Gerald Ramdeen, said this situation forced the board of NGC to take the required steps.
We have had to go and undo transactions that were done before to bring gas into this downstream.
Don't forget, of course, a company that by its very nature either liken NGC to an insurance company. Once you have an insurance company going, or even a funeral home, because people must die. I mean, it may be a macabre way to use that as an example, but people must die, and just as well, people must pay their insurance, at least on their vehicles. How come you could bust? It has to be mismanagement, and NGC did not make a profit in 2021 under the PNM. So let's hear the chairman.
When they talk about plants closing, they are responsible for that because they never made any provision for gas to go into the downstream. And we have had to compete. The last time I spoke here, I told you all, the NGC now doesn't hold any monopoly on gas, you know. The NGC has to compete with upstreamers. They crippled our downstream by the policies that were put in place by the former administration.
Chairman of the National Gas Company, Gerald Ramdeen, said this situation forced the Board of Engineers.
All right, let's take a pause. We have to pause because the call is coming in, so we have to pause and give way to the caller. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night.
Good night to Mr. Smith and COP. I'm my boy Joshua. Mr. Smith,
hey.
You know, listen to Ramdeen saying that day, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if we people just really listen. You feel we are listening, Mr. Smith?
Well, they'll have no choice because if they don't listen, then the lack of listening will visit them. That's all.
Huh. Well, Mr. Smith, I come to the conclusion that when PNM people talking to us, I don't feel that we're really talking to like me and you and COP and the UNC supporters, because I hear Mr. De Noriga saying something on national television that doesn't make sense at all, and news people listening to that. I hear this man say that police post in Etihad ground is being put there on a gas line, and that might be heading for a disaster. But come back and say it is put near to a children playground. Mr. Smith, I can understand what a man meaning, because if it have a children playground there before they put the police post, so that wasn't looking to have a disaster. It's only when the police post come, then it might have a disaster. So that means the children playground, if you ask for it, it wouldn't be a disaster. But if you ask for it, then it will be a disaster. Mr. Smith, what is man really saying? Who is speaking to, boy? Like these news people and them, like them, it has no sense to even hear what the man saying. That man talking there doesn't make sense. Right? And the people them listening to him, no, hear what the man say again. That the PNM was going at the root of the crime, not like this government. Jesus Lord. The root of the crime, you end up with this amount of high murder rate. Why you going at the root of the crime, Mr. Smith? Like you was putting salt in the root of the crime to make the murder rate climb so high. So it amazed me how these people could be talking down to we like they feel like we have no sense. I can't really understand the Norga and them. These men and them not supposed to be talking this kind of stupidness, boy. Who they really trying to fool? Mr. Smith, I am amazed. These people just have nothing to say. And they're saying so much. And it still is nothing to say. Oh Lord, just have a good night, please, brother, and something make sense for me, please. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Well, of course, we adjusted earlier. A caller expressed a similar sentiment, and the discombobulation and the incongruent and almost what I consider to be meandering of the stupidity, attempting to use semantics and propaganda, what I consider to be elements in order to hoodwink and deceive. In other words, we concluded that who the gods wish to destroy, they first send them mad. And these people have gone mad. That's all we can say. And you're quite right. In addition to that, he must have known by the time he would have gone to that press conference and delivered that nonsensicality that the chairman of the NGC did say that that pipeline has been decommissioned for a very long time, but yet still he's assuming that some kind of explosion could still take place. Yes, he's still assuming that that is only to sensationalize. He knows that he's talking nonsense. He knows that the level of what I consider toxicity, intent of that statement has no limit. That's no limit. The elasticity of it could go around the whole earth several times and still have room. That is to tell you the level of nonsense that he knows he's talking. But our job, of course, is to abuse and disabuse that kind of what I consider to be hoodwinking, attempts to hoodwink a very intelligent population. So thank you, of course, for observing that. But there's a caller earlier that also observed the same thing and conclude, just as you, that he's talking hogwash. All right, so let's get back to the chairman's statement on the incompetence of the PNM. And I want you to pay attention because the Prime Minister said that better days are coming. Well, listen to where the NGC is to go, will be taken.
NGC to take the required steps.
We have had to go and undo transactions that were done before to bring gas into this downstream. When they talk about plants closing, they are responsible for that because they never made any provision for gas to go into the downstream. And we have had to compete. The last time I spoke here, I told you all, the NGC now doesn't hold any monopoly on gas, The NGC has to compete with...
Just in case you may not be aware and following, because our job is to make sure that you get the information tight and solid. So, under the PNM, when they say downstream, they mean going basically to gas going to point liters as a raw material and as a fuel. As a raw material is for fertilizer and so on, and for fuel, of course, to energize the machines and all the other apparatus that would produce things like methanol, etc. But the point I am making is this: that almost a dozen, I think there's about 11 companies shut down whilst the PNM was in government for the 9 years. 11! Now, 2 has threatened their departure because of the lack of gas, and more so because of the price of the gas that NGC has to sell them, because they are downstream. There's upstream and there's downstream. The upstreamers are those people who find the gas, so who find the oil. These are upstreamers. So those who are downstreamers are the ones who use the product after being refined or having been taken out of the ground for their own processes and so on, whether it be methanol, whether it be fertilizer, etc. So let's get that clear in terms of the foundation for the use of that gas. Well, 11 companies left the country. And remember, I think the last one, when Rowley said, well, listen, if you can't pay for the gas that we are selling you at from NGC, then go. But yet still, in spite of all of that, NGC lost a profit, lost profit all entirely. Bus in 2021. Bus. So let us not waste time with that kind of hogwash that Short will now try to tell us to hoodwink us and try to. So 2 companies are now. There are 2 companies. I don't want to call the wrong company name, but 2 companies are now negotiating. One of which, of course, Nutrimix or something like that, is in discussion with PIPDECO because of outstanding port fees that they did not pay, and that has, of course, escalated to the involvement of NGC, which of course is a separate state enterprise nonetheless. PIPDECO is the state company responsible for the port and other facilities, and the estate, that industrial estate at Point Lisas. but of course, NGC is a separate entity dealing with, of course, the acquisition and the accumulation of gas to sell to the downstreamers on the very Point Lisas estate. So I want to for people to understand the system and how it operates. So 11 companies left, apart from, of course, the damn NGC busing in that particular period under the PNM. Before you come and apologize and say I'm sorry for the disaster that he potentially and realistically has plunged Trinidad and Tobago in, he come to take fame for what the UNC coalition of interest has done in only 1.5 years. In other words, a year and 5 months. Come on, Georgia. All you really believe that anybody studying all your hogwash and nonsense? And I want to say this as the caller talk and to demonstrate how that is so. When I looked at our program last night, when we in 6 hours time, and I looked at Marcel's program on YouTube, which said it was at the time that I was looking at our program from last night. I looked at Marcel's program as well that said it was done or it was executed 11 hours earlier. Well, guess what? In 6 hours time, we had 232 views. 11 hours after Marcel's program, he had 202 views. 202 views. What that tells you? Because compared to us, we are supposed to be not in competition with a parliamentary representative who made a fundamental statement on a particular issue. Yes, it is something dear to my heart, and which I'm going to discuss tomorrow on the ground report, talking about the East Port of Spain Development Company and his bleeding heart position for the employees there, and that the government, he claims, is not, of course, treating with that particular entity or treating with it in the same way that they say CPEP and URP would have gone. But only 202 views. And six hours later, as far as the corridor is concerned, 230-something to the 2 views. I mean, come on, chalk and cheese. I'm making the point to simply say people ain't listening to them, don't want to hear them because of the nonsense that they have been engaged in and are engaged in. I thought it was important to treat that. But let's get back to the chairman.
Top streamers to buy gas at LNG prices to be able to supply our downs.
Mr. Ramdeen said work is also underway to revamp the national gas company.
It has remained a pipeline company for 50 years without any vision to make an investment in the upstream. To buy a plant.
This part of it is too important to be disrupted. So let me go to the line, and then, of course, we will hear what vision the chairman has and his team has for NGC. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yeah, this is San Fernando calling back here.
Go ahead,
you hear what Ramdeen was saying? You hear what Mr. Ramdeen was saying just now? What do you think I was telling you just now? That they crippled the energy sector by running down into Venezuela, right, when millions of people was fleeing. Right? That's exactly my point. Right? Now Stuart Young come back to tell us that what Angostura, right, was making a profit, and then you just declined by what, 5%, right? And you're trying to gaslight the thing as to say that it's so bad. You understand?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is for what a better term is a typical alarmist, a typical propagandist, and a typical backside who doesn't have a front side. That's what I could say. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you see, that we're saying all the time, right? They have no clue as to how to come out of the mess that they themselves have put Trinidad in. They cannot come out of it, so they have to keep. It's like you tell a lie once, you tell it twice, 3 times, and then you tell it 1,000 times. That's where you're learning.
Yeah,
So
he himself tried to believe he own lie.
Yeah. So, all right. So later.
Yeah,
All right. Thanks.
Yes, man. And sometimes you really have to laugh, because he thinks so damn serious that if you ain't laugh, you might get headaches for days. COP, before we go in, you want to make any comment? Boy, I ain't hearing you, boy. What happened? What's happening there? I ain't hearing you. Let me see. Anything wrong? No, I think it's wrong. Let me see. Let me make sure. All right. Okay. Let's go. Go ahead. Talk, Lamia. Are you hearing me? You hear me? Talk. Not hearing you, boy. I wonder why. Let me see. Yes, indeed. Not hearing. I'm not hearing you, my friend. I'm not hearing you, my friend, at all. What's happening? Let me see. Prism. Not hearing you. They're not hearing you. I don't know what has happened inside of here. If something, let me check in here and see what's happening. Go ahead, let me hear. All right, we have lost him. All right, let me hear you. I gotta go solo, boy. So let's get back to Ramdeen's statement and in that press interview.
In the downstream, so that we can earn valuable foreign exchange. And those are the policies and the vision that is driving the energy sector at a ministerial level, at a prime ministerial level, at an NGC level. And the only people to benefit from that are the citizens of this country.
He said ensuring that downstream companies have the gas they need to operate is one of the company's main focus areas.
There are active discussions at every level to do certain things. Prioritize our downstream. Bring value to our country, to Atlantic LNG. Have a footstep in the upstream. Have a footstep in the downstream. And expand the operations of the NGC. Those are things that have not been done in 50 years.
Mr. Ramdeen was responding to...
Of course, and there's needed to repeat that, but let me just go to the line. All right, we have lost that call. Let me just repeat what Ramdeen just said in terms of the future of NGC. I think it is fantastic and music to all of us ears in terms of money.
There are active discussions at every level to do certain things. Prioritize our downstream. Bring value to our country, to Atlantic LNG. Have a footstep in the upstream. Have a footstep in the downstream. And expand the operations of the NGC. Those are things that have not been done in 50 years.
Mr. Ramdeen was responding to reporters following a Ministry of Land and Legal Affairs ceremony to hand over the title deed for the Beachfield gas processing facility in Guaraguari to NGC.
Yes, indeed. What's going to be happening again, Ramdeen? Let's hear it. Let's hear what has happened.
And the only people to benefit from that are the citizens of this country. Vision that is driving the energy sector at a ministerial level, at a prime ministerial level, at an NGC level. And the only people to benefit from that are the citizens of this country.
He said ensuring that downstream companies have the gas they need to operate is one of the company's main focus areas.
There are active discussions at every level to do certain things. Prioritize our downstream. Bring value to our country, to Atlantic LNG. Have a footstep in the upstream. Have a footstep in the downstream. And expand the operations of the NGC. Those are things that have not been done in 50 years. Bring value to our country, to Atlantic LNG. Have a footstep in the upstream. Have a footstep in the downstream. And expand the operations of the NGC. Those are things that have not been done in 50 years. bring value to our country, to Atlantic LNG, have a footstep in the upstream, have a footstep in the downstream, and expand the operations of the NGC. Those are things that have not been done in 50 years.
Mr. Ramdeen was responding to reporters following a Ministry of Land and Legal Affairs ceremony to hand over the title deed for the Beachfield gas processing facility in Guarguari.
Yes, loud and clear, my friend. Loud and clear. Yes, you fix your business. So, you have heard in your absence, you have heard a lot as well, of course. NGC going to have now a foot in the upstream, in the downstream. They want to buy a company to add more value and therefore bring more revenue to the country and taxpayers. They are going to, of course, make certain that they have some better arrangement with Atlantic LNG. And one or two other things. I think it's about 4 things in all. But I think it's fantastic news. But let's go to the caller quickly, and then you'll make your comment. Pleasant good night to welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to each and everyone again.
Yes, man.
Yeah,
and good night to you, caller.
You see, Scotty.
And good night to you, caller.
Right? He responsible for all this. What it has shown, right?
Yes.
But you know, I wanted to ask him the $225 million on NGC book he put as a loss. Whether take it and upgrade the Buckball Trade 1. And then the next 200 million, one by one, right? And $1 billion by $1 billion he take. And he write off the debt on NGC book. And when he talk about NGL is a strain on the economy and the loss of money, yeah, I wonder, they talk now, Shorty, Andy looking for you to hear you talk, and I don't want you to talk on what is actually boy. Let me hear the $4 billion and change that you put on the NGC while you was there as an energy minister. It's as this new chairman came in, Mr. Gerald Ramdeen, we get profit and plus we get dividend in the NGL by. Let me hear, what are you responsible for? Thieving out the money by. That is a new word. And I wouldn't afraid to use it loosely because if it takes something that not belongs to you, they call that thieving by. Right? So answer that one now. And let me hear if you admit that you're responsible for thieving the money now. You hear? And we have a chairman now that put in money. And here what's going on. Or like a jump high, or like a jump low. Just put the nuts where the monkey don't shine. And that's who dead, and always save ourselves. We are about saving life and building an economy for the future we children. Have a nice night. Then Monday, peace, God.
Yes, man. Thanks very much. Of course, that suggested that he will be out momentarily, but I'm sure that if need be, he will be back before the program finishes. But of course, in terms of his definition of larceny or thieving, but of course you must add the legal definition. If you define it legally, you must also say without the consent of the owners, and the owners of these resources are the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and we did not give them consent to take our money, and therefore the idea that they engage in larceny as they would have morphed into a criminal enterprise at the highest level in this country, the highest level here in terms of the cabinet, in terms of state enterprises, and of course we have seen these interlocking directorships doing the biddings, or put another way, developing and enveloping Trinidad and Tobago with a mafia type organization that the PNM would have certainly been responsible for, and that is the reality. So of course we have gotten what Ramdeen has said in terms of where we are going. Let's let that soak in again. Where we are going, Mr. Ramdeen, where we are going?
Valuable foreign exchange, and those are the policies and the vision that is driving the energy sector at a ministerial level, at a prime ministerial level, at an NGC level. And the only people to benefit from that are the citizens of this country.
He said ensuring that downstream companies have the gas they need to operate is one of the company's main focus areas.
There are active discussions at every level to do certain things. prioritize our downstream, bring value to our country to Atlantic LNG, have a footstep in the upstream, have a footstep in the downstream, and expand the operations of the NGC.
You don't want anything better than that, Mr. COP. So, COP, let's hear your general comments before we go back to Stuart Young. Go ahead.
You know what amazing? You know what amazing to me with Gerald Ramdin? Gerald Ramdin have no experience really in the energy sector. That man is a established lawyer.
Yes.
And he have no experience in the energy sector. The People's National Movement have over 65 years experience in the energy sector. And they destroy the energy sector. Why is them say they was representing us and developing our energy sector? We see it run flat down. Look at Gerald Ramdin, a man with no experience in energy, to restore our energy sector. You hear what he said just now? He said the only people will benefit is the citizens of the country. That is what we want. That is what we paying them to do. For us to benefit. For the future of this country to benefit and have proper jobs. What Keith Rowley and Stuart Young small pen, what them did really? I was listening to Stuart Young for the election time. Stuart Young said in the energy sector, they make $145 billion on a campaign platform. Not knowing he was lying to us, and they were supposed to tell us it's $145 billion to borrow. Stuart Young tell us they make when he was Prime Minister, they make $145 billion on a platform. And we could not see none. When government changed, it didn't have no money there. And it take a man with no experience in energy sector. Just a level head and proper negotiation. And look at what's happening in our energy sector. Look at what's happening in Point Lisa. Because all that is our energy sector too. Look at what's happening. We going to benefit from it. I think Stuart Young need to hush him out. I think he need to hush him out, pee, and go in the bed. I don't know if he stoop down or if he stand up to do that. But if he stoop down, that not my business. But pee before you go in your bed. Before you come and attack Gerald Ramdin and this administration. This administration, Lennox Smith, and listeners of the Corridor Transformation. At times we might say things. That is because of emotion. But if we look outside, if we look behind emotion, we will see development. We will see representation. We will see what this country will benefit. Why this country need to develop our energy sector? Why we need to build back our GDP and our economy? Because the communities that the PNM live, that is dilapidated, the schools that they leave behind, that want renovation, those money have to see all those things. Lennox Smith and listeners of the Corridor Transformation, the profit from our energy sector and the profit, it's supposed to be for the citizens of this country to develop our country. And we see that it offends the PNM. Why something like that will offend a political party? Exists over 70 years. Why representation will annoy a political party that was in office for over 70 years, Lennox Smith? They're supposed to be proud to know, all right, a government come in power, a year and 8 months now. They're supposed to say, we, Papa, look at representation, goods and service to the people in time of need. Not everybody get it in time of need. But it's going to reach there. It's going to reach there. And people in communities, you all need to call the program and express all yourself. Highlight the works that your community, that the government doing in your community. Even The dilapidated part of their community, you need to call into and ask for it to be fixed, ask for it to be renovated. That is your responsibility. Take the mic, Lennox.
Thank you very much. I mean, I have to tell you, of course, it's very rare I have the opportunity to tell a co-host, go to the top of the class, because, of course, you have hit the nail on the head. Because there's a dichotomy, there's a difference between the approach of the UNC and the coalition of interest, and that has been so with the UNC from time immemorial, from the time of its inception, and the approach of the PNM, who believe that somehow the resources of the country not only belong to them, but them have the sole right to be in government to mismanage the resources of the country. And why am I saying that? And where is the evidence? Well, the evidence is clear, as you rightly identified, generically. But let me give some specific examples. When, of course, Gonzalez was made the minister for public utilities, and Rowley was introducing him, he said he wanted someone who know anything about WASA. Anything about WASA. And true to form, whilst of course we couldn't believe that, I mean, your common sense alone will tell you certain things, and therefore you would apply it to the task or the mission that you would have been handed, because it was about providing water to all. You know what he Gonzalez turned and say? But of course, trying to belittle Roger Alexander with his little, let's say, statements that he would have made that would have not been, as far as he's concerned, cohesive sufficiently to suggest that he is deserving of the Homeland Security Ministry. But hear what he said in his inaugural introduction to the population. He said he didn't know that pipes with hole would prevent water from reaching on top of the hill. He didn't know that. He didn't know that pressure will be lowered, in other words, when pipes have hole to reach, of course, the upper reaches of the pipe laying or the pipe laid to reach people on higher levels. He didn't know that. That nincompoop, but trying to project us, and you notice he adopts stance like that of Cummins, and all of them have adopted, of course, a Manning-style approach, talking big, looking big, but they're total and absolute charlatans, quacks. Let's go to the line, and I'll finish that when the caller would have been. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night, caller.
Hello, good night, Mr. Lennox and Mr. COP.
Yes, man.
Until Monday, meet again. What a lovely program.
Thank you.
We're going on with the pit bull. Are you still lying down?
Yes.
You get back up?
No, he coming. Monday, you might get a shocker. You never could tell.
But they say you politically secular, boy. you see, for them talking, you walk on track. Well, I mean, that is a good, yeah, my love.
Yeah. That's a good wish. That's a good wish for him. So I'm sure that he will not be disappointed or will disapprove that. But the point I am making is that here it is. We only take a man, a man like that, and then of course, as if to make or to throw more salt in the rice, so to make it totally inedible. Rowley would have taken Stuart Young, and Stuart Young agreeing that he and Rowley goes to the boardrooms of these upstreamers, BP and others, whether in Europe or whether in the United States, and say they went and negotiate. And as a consequence, these gas companies experience, as they would have and many years in the industry, make fools of them, negotiate higher gas prices that cause Point Lisas ultimately to lose 11 companies. But Stuart Young has the audacity in his press conference just a couple of days ago to tell us that the government wasn't present in the negotiations, and therefore, because them were present, that is a better strategy. Well, the UNC is smart enough to know you don't have to be in no boardroom. You have the technology that could send somebody in a boardroom, but more importantly, they also know that they are not experts. So no doubt, when Ramdeen speaks of as how he speaks there, he is speaking, yes, in terms of the policy direction of the government and whether something is possible or not. But he has to turn to the experts, the technocrats, the engineers, and those who have over a century of Trinidad and Tobago's involvement in the energy sector, oil, gas, and petrochemical, to rely on their advice, their astute evaluations, and so on. But Stuart Chung will want to have you believe he's a lawyer. I never heard of him before in any significant case, except when he artificially got, of course, SC status, senior counsel, and somebody called him somewhere in St. Vincent to do a case. Before that, he never, because he himself said the biggest case he ever did is when he had to negotiate for Trinidad and Tobago while in government. Most people get SC when they were in private practice. He gets it wise. His biggest claim to fame is that he did something for Trinidad and Tobago while in government, not when he was in private business. So we know that the PNM, as we have always said, is a sucker for mediocrity. Why they do that? Because they want everybody to be beholden to them. You are not qualified, but you will thank us for giving you the position and therefore stay loyal. That is why we have unearthed so many corrupt acts, such as the intervention by Rowley into the situation with the selection of a commissioner of police. I'm talking about the Police Service Commission, and the entire commission had to resign. Is I give Kobo two on them. Kobo two on them. First they saw, especially Rowley. And then, of course, as soon as he came in, because Malcolm Jones is his friend, he took out the matter, contrary to the public's interest, out of the Privy Council. And the Privy Council itself asked him, well, why would you do that? Because $25 billion is real money for Trinidad and Tobago. But he took it up because Malcolm Jones is his friend. That is the kind of nonsense we are talking about. And here it is. Ramdeen has put forward a vision for NGC that nobody could question. But this man, having a press conference and talk about Stuart Chung, still living in the past, a failed policy, a failed, of course, management, a failed execution of the democratic processes that brought them into government in the first place. And let me conclude by saying the reason why the UNC has been so successful is fundamentally because their foreign policy and hemispheric relations with our major partner, the United States, has provided the foundation for the successes that we are seeing now, and of course a natural action by the UNC in terms of giving experts their space to make decisions so that they can work in the best interest of Trinidad and Tobago, as opposed to the PNM, who believe that you could come off the road, be a carpenter, and then go and perform a heart surgery. That is what Rowley and they told us, that you could be a carpenter and go in a medical theater and perform a heart surgery. And they are reeling from that fact, and they therefore could never be authorized by the people to form government in this country again, because we have seen enough. Your closing remarks, COP.
Lennox, your political retainance is so high. Your IQ is so high, and your political retainance. You just remember them thing off your head.
Off the cuff, yeah, off the cuff, yeah.
Yeah, well, I recognize them thing. One like me, I still had to think and try to remember, but I just listen to her you speaking over there. And you just bring back up something from 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, but it in your head right over there. I get 10 out of 10 for that. But that man stepdaughter get locked up with a set of cocaine and he couldn't even represent shit.
Well,
what kind of lawyer is that?
He couldn't even get people to recommend she, so she's now a fugitive from Trinidad and Tobago criminal justice system.
Something wrong with that.
Something wrong with that.
To the corridor transformation, I want to tell all you thank you so much for viewing and listening to the corridor transformation. I give you 10 out of 10 for that. Let me continue to grow this program. Remember, we have a local election coming up over here just now. We need to build numbers over here. We need to applaud this administration, the coalition of interest, for all the good work that they're doing over there. And you have opportunities to do that. You can be part of the corridor transformation. All the silent listeners and them, it's time for them to be part of the program. Put the shyness in the back and let us be part of the program. Let me build the program. And let's show each other love. Let's show each other support. Unity is strength, and strength is the power. If you don't have that power, you will not unite together. Let us unite together so we will have that power together. Lennox Smith, I think we had a wonderful program. Now is a time for me to eat something and lie down and take a little rest.
But before that, before that, let's get vexed. Let's get vexed to get up in the morning and go again by this buffoon, of course, making a fool of himself and the PNM and his party.
I have
a song to play for tonight?
Task
yeah, we'll do that after.
Of dealing with some issues that should be of serious concern to us. Things are surfacing, just a few that I've just highlighted, that are showing bad governance, incompetence. The big announcements come. First one I'll deal with, the reopening of the steel mill. That steel mill, let me start by saying, if the steel mill can be reopened, is a positive for Trinidad and Tobago. Absolute positive.
Well, shut up. And people, we will shut them up right here. If the steel mill, not if, it's when it is open, because the Deputy Secretary of State was here and pushed open the gate. What you think that is, Church Young? Were you trying to put into the sycophants and them whose residual presence still hold on to this dribble? But let me tell all you something. A dribble has limited elasticity and it must bust. And the PNM has bust. Understand that? No matter how long a dribble may be, it must bust. Because
and yes, you want bush to have growing on the island. Yes, you want bush to have growing on the concern them. Now they see the bush coming and they see renovation and concern them.
Yeah, next week, of course, we'll bring an updated picture as nature goes inexorably to take over, of course, the Balize house. But let's end.
Jowlet was missed tonight.
Yes, indeed. Let's end with this. I think Stuart Young, leave him on the screen there, and then, of course, we will say what he really is by Lord Nelson.
That red monkey next day. He come from an Indian family and he born an Indian country.
It was a big lying competition to see who they will crown as lion champion. Liars from all parts of the West Indies. Big shot liars from all them foreign countries. From a field about 1,000 or so entry. In 2 days, he boiled down and leave just 3.
Yes, people, of course, we have come to the end of tonight's program. Yes, indeed, make this buffoon see who he is for what he is. Of course, don't forget tomorrow morning, the ground report. Andy, yes, I could mention Andy, myself, and Snipes wouldn't be there tomorrow morning, so we'll have another operator tomorrow morning, but I will be there. And then, of course, on Monday, we return to the corridor transformation, when we will give a little more details as to these and other matters. But let's say here
Andy listen to the program all night.
Liar.
Andy listen to the program all night. I say Andy listen to the program all night.
Why, sir? Check it out. Liar, the lion, he laughed till he sweat. He said, Mr. Depot, ain't say nothing yet. If you really want to hear about fishing, let me blow your mind. Now listen to something. When you're talking about fish, you just hit the spot. I was hoping you did believe it or not. The fish your father caught, to you it was great. But it's them small fish my father does use for bait. Lion went ahead on points in the show, completely eliminated Mr. Depot. The next man to beat was really outrageous. He asked the judges if he could lie first. The judges asked Lion. The Lion agreed. Say any topic we'll pick is alright with me. He outrageous, I strong. Let we meet head on. And when we done, see who had fit to wear the crown. You hear lie? That is lie. Lie? You hear lie?
Teacher Percy say if you tell a lie, you go into hell as soon as you die.
Let it go. Let it go. Shook it up. Yep. The outrageous say that he knew a tailor comes to making suit. The man is the master. If you show him a man coming round a corner, he could make him a suit and don't even measure. A talking about suit, sitting down correct, expertly made and fitting perfect. He used to sew for Shakespeare, make suit for Hamlet, and up to this day.